Hi everyone, welcome back to another edition of my videos, and today I've got a really interesting puzzle to show you. The stipulation is this: it is whites to move and it's to checkmate in only 4 moves. So see if you can solve it. Whites to move and checkmate in only 4 moves. Okay, as always, if you wish to skip straight ahead to the solution, I will put a timestamp under the video. Let's talk a little bit about this puzzle. So this particular one was published by Paco Harnez. It's a very weird puzzle. It's what we would call a grotesque puzzle. So it's a puzzle that is definitely fantasy. We wouldn't get this over the board unless 2 players were conspiring together to create this very weird, odd-looking position. But yeah, it's a fantasy position, but it's got quite a weird solution. It's a weird piece configuration. So I think the first problem with trying to solve this is, okay, this is unlike any position we've ever seen before. We've got these very weird piece configurations, but once you start to work out where everything is in relation to something else, the position's not too difficult. Well, I say not too difficult. It's still quite a tough puzzle, this one. The first thing to notice is the black king. It can't move anywhere. It's got no available squares, so all we need to do is just find some way to check the black king, but not lose all our pieces in the process, or maybe not just not get annihilated somehow. So the way to do that is understanding that black has got a slight chink in his armor. What do I mean by slight chink in his armor? Well, when you start counting the amount of defenders on the black king, you start to realise that this pawn here is quite weak. Not only can it not move, it's stuck where it is because it's going down the board, but also only this black king is defending it. So really all we need to do is just try and find a way to attack this pawn and deliver checkmate in the process. And a simple way to do that is using this queen. We can create what we like to call a kiss of death checkmate with the queen against this black pawn, and then checkmate the king in the process. So there's 3 ways that we can attack this pawn. We have the move d8, we have the move f8, and we have the move e7. Now I believe e7 and d8, they do lead to checkmate, but it's much later in the position. But the solution is queen to f8, and we'll see why that is in a second. So first let's have a look at the problem with queen to d8. The problem with this is black can play the move knight to g8, and this is the only way he can defend this pawn here on f6. What's annoying about this is by playing the knight to f8, it's created now a little escape square, a little back exit for the king to try and run away. So it does make the solution a little bit tricky now. As we start to smash through in this position, the king starts to run away to h6. He's going to run into the countryside, live for a few more turns, and then eventually gets cut down by white's pieces. It is a checkmate in 10. Have a look at this yourself, see if you can solve it yourself. But let's go back. Oh, is it checkmate? Oh no, it's checkmate in 5, is it? Oh, interesting. It's a checkmate in 10 if you do this. Ah, that's probably a bit better, isn't it? Let's see. What's my computer telling me? Ooh, interesting. Okay, anyway, going back. So, that doesn't work. Also, queen to e7, the same reason this doesn't work either, because the knight can come to g8, defends it, simultaneously creates this little escape square. So if you looked at these moves, unfortunately these do not work. But there's a slight difference to queen to f8. After knight to g8, there's a small change to our position. Although the knight defends this, black doesn't have the simultaneous defence of the king running to h6. Why is this the case? Because the queen guards this square. So this is no longer an option for the black king. Now, the black knight is defending this pawn, so we can't just go for our simple, really interesting kiss of death here. But instead, we can go for something more spectacular. We need to do something known as a clearance sacrifice. Now, what is a clearance sacrifice? Well, notice that we have this bishop here. We would love this rook to be out the way, where we would then have 3 attackers hitting simultaneously on this f6 square. But this rook is in the way, this stupid rook. So the rook has to do something. It needs to jump out the way. It needs to get out the way, and it can do that with a check. We've got a clearance sacrifice here on f5. Really beautiful. Now the bishop has to take back. and we can take back with our bishop now. If the king runs, let's say it goes to let's say the knight captures first. Let's have a look at that first. This comes with a check, but it doesn't matter. Queen takes, nice and easy. If the king runs, it doesn't matter. We can play checkmate here on g7. So this doesn't work either. Is there anything else to really say here? Well, there's no other moves, legal moves for black to do in this position, so this is a very simple little solution. So knight to g8 doesn't really work here, but there are other moves that black can do to try and hold the position. We should also, very quickly, let's discount moves like f2, h2, or any of these rook moves. These will lose simply to just this threat here of queen to f6. We've got to do something to defend this. Now, there are two other ways that we can do it. I'll have a look very briefly at bishop takes here on e5. This is one way that we can defend it, because yeah, the bishop does defend it. But here it doesn't matter, because we can do this really cool sacrifice here, and this is why this pawn is so useful in this position, because after queen takes, bishop takes, we checkmate, would you believe it, with the bishop. I love this. It's defended by the bishop. It's defended by the rook, sorry. The king can't run away because this pawn, he was guarding, he was keeping a lookout for this king to try and run away over here. I think that's kind of quite cool, that position. So bishop takes here doesn't work either. So what else could black do? The only other tricky defense that he can play is bishop to f7, but this, I think, leads to the most beautiful checkmates in this line. So here we still have to play rook to f5 here, and there's two ways that black can go in this position. I'm trying to remember which is the more beautiful solution, or maybe you decide which is the most beautiful one. Let's try knight. Well, there's only two legal moves here, so either the king runs or the knight captures. Let's look at knight captures first. Let's see what happens here. Well, here we have what looks like a transposition to one of the other positions that we saw earlier. It looks kind of similar, really. So here we take with the bishop, king runs to g6, and we just checkmate here on g7. What's cool about this, though, is the knight. You think, oh yeah, I can capture this. This isn't checkmate. Sorry, this bishop, it pins it, which I think is pretty cool. So the knight here goes from one pin. Anyway, I just thought that's cool. So that's not the coolest solution, though. That's not the coolest one. I think this one's even better. So let's have a look at king runs to g7. I think this is pretty cool. Now, how do we win this? It looks a little bit tricky, but again, look at your piece configuration. There's some very tricky looking double attacks here. You might be thinking this way, but oh no, I can't do that. Why can't I do it? Well, the reason is this queen is pinning our rook. This is why the queen was here. Very nice. So, rook to g5 is the move. And now we have a double attack on the king. The king would love to capture here, but if it does it, he runs into a Bowden mate with bishop here on f6. These two bishops doing an amazing job attacking this king. And let's see, what if we don't do that? What if we try to run away? Oh, we can't. Why can't we? Oh, can we not do this? That's why. I remember now. We're under double attack. We can't do that. We can't run away, so we have to take with our king, and this leads to the checkmate here on f6. I thought that was a cooler mate. I think that's a really cool one. We've got the Bowden here to do that. Okay, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to do puzzles every single day for 2022. So if you like what you see, make sure you subscribe. Check out the playlist for all the puzzles that I've posted so far on this channel. As always, thank you for watching. If you liked it and you managed to get to the end of the video, I'd love to see you write in the comments that you think that this is a grotesque puzzle, because it is pretty grotesque. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.